Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance Simply Reds podcast. My name is Reuben and I'm being joined by Louie. How are you, Louie?
Oh, I'm very well, Reuben. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Did you have a nice Easter break?
Yeah, no, it was lovely. Lots of football, lots of family, lots of food and chocolate, and two good results to go with it. So probably as good as it could have got, really.
Yeah, 100%. Well, should we kickstart then and jump into the Birmingham game? I mean, somebody has said we took the most amount of away fans to a League One fixture for Crawley at the Birmingham game. I think it was like 635 odd.
It was. I've
Maybe kept
seen.
up.
I've seen different figures. I've seen some. Apparently, we sold around 700 tickets, and then apparently it was 615, 635. It felt like a lot more than 600. I'll say that. It certainly sounded like it as well. It was probably one of the best away ends we've ever had, I would say, in terms of the atmosphere and the support we gave the players.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game where people more go for the experience than in the hope of actually getting a result, because who knows when we get to play a team like Birmingham at St Andrews or a stadium like that ever again. But we thankfully managed to come away with a point, which I think is to everyone's surprise, both Crawley fans and Birmingham fans. The only person who probably wasn't surprised was Scott Lindsay in the way that he talks about it in his post-match interviews. He always has that strong belief that we'll get something from any game that we play. But, I mean, Louis, what do you make of the game? Were there any standout players for you?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of standout performances. We got through a sort of shaky first 15, 20 minutes where Birmingham was sort of cutting through us quite a bit. They hit the post. They had another couple of good chances where Toby Stewart was called into action, had to make a couple of good stops. And I think he's the first one to shout out, because making your league debut in that sort of environment, coming into a side that lost the last three games, struggled defensively all season, he didn't look out of place at all. We wouldn't know it was his first league game. He handled it so well, and I think that's a credit to him. He made some really good saves, particularly in the second half as well. Kept us in it in the first 15, 20 minutes on a couple of occasions, and then once we got through that first sort of opening period, we grew into the game a bit, and I think the players sort of seemed to think, actually, this might be our day. It's not all going Birmingham's way, and I thought Panuccio Kamara was probably his best performance of the season, until Monday, because I thought he was absolutely excellent. He was always an option in midfield, driving us forward, winning his battles, picking the right pass. I thought it was a sort of game where he thrived. A big pitch, quite an end-to-end game at times, and it's that sort of game. It just opens up so much space for him, and when he's got the space to run into, he's very difficult to stop. And there's not many players in the league who are as good at covering distance like that, with or without the ball. So I thought he was excellent. I thought Charlie Barker, absolutely superb. Kept Stansfield very quiet for most of the game. And we didn't give away a penalty, which is always good news. And I think that keeps Stansfield quiet as well. Because I think, what is he on, 13 penalties or something this season?
Yeah, it's a fair few.
It's 12 or 13. It's something like that. It's a ridiculous amount. So I thought we defended our box really well. They had their chances, and we were always going to need a little bit of luck to get through certain periods of the game where they were going to have chances, and whether that's from them just not hitting the target or hitting the post, or Stewart making a couple of good saves. But we had that bit of luck. We got a point which could be really valuable in a couple of weeks' time. We'll never know. I guess the only sour note is we could have nicked all 3 points. We had moments where we got into got some dangerous areas, and we just seemed to take a little bit too long. We seemed to want just a little bit too long on the ball in certain areas. There was one where I think Russian tried to cut in from the left, and he would have had a pass on, but he took another touch, and their defender, and this was mainly in the second half, their defender kind of got a foot in. There was one where Dion got played in after a set piece. The ball was sort of recycled back to him, and then he, instead of just getting a shot or a cross off, he tried to cut in, and again a defender got a touch and sort of stops him getting any further. And it was just quite. It was. I mean, it's hard to say. Oh, we've gone to Birmingham, got a point, so I'm disappointed. But if there's one regret we might have, it's that we weren't ruthless enough when we got when we did get into those positions to hurt them. And then obviously Russian had the chance where we've pressed them really well. The keeper's played it straight to Russian, and he's just not. He probably could have taken another second to steady himself. But he's just not. He's just not had the composure, and he's fired well wide or well over the bar. I can't remember which now. I've tried not to watch it back because it's one. I turned to the guy standing next to me and I said that was the one. That was the one chance. But it was a good point in isolation. Probably not enough to help us stay up, but you never know. But I thought it was particularly the second half. We did a really good job of making them uncomfortable. We didn't show them any respect in that sense. We pressed them high. We forced turnovers, and we just didn't quite take advantage where we did get those turnovers and where we did get the ball into dangerous areas. But yeah, no, I think it's a performance we can be proud of, and a good day out as well. So yeah, probably one of the highlights of our season, regardless of what happens, which is it's kind of sad when you think about it. A 0-0 draw away from home is one of the highlights of the season, but I think given the context, yeah, I think it was. Birmingham will feel like they probably should have won the game. They had their chances, but they certainly weren't at their best. And for a team that scores so many goals, playing a team that's conceded so many goals, and in both games this season they've only scored one goal. It's that's quite curious to me. Our two best defensive performances have been against the best team in the league, which is doesn't really make sense. But then that's football for you, isn't it? But yeah,
it's typical Crawley as well. It's always been that way. We could go to Shrewsbury in the last game of the season, lose 5-0, but play Birmingham, who are about to have won the league, can get a decent result from them.
Yeah, I was saying to my dad in the build up to the game a couple of days before, I said it'd be the most Crawley thing if we get a win, if we beat Birmingham and then just lose like the next 3 games. But obviously we've not done that, and we've picked up four valuable points over Easter. So it's resurrected our
nice Easter pun.
Thank you. It's resurrected our relegation survival hopes a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think had this game have come a month or two back and offered a 0-0 draw to Birmingham City, I think we all would have snapped your hand off.
Absolutely,
because
yeah.
I mean, you look at the players that they've got. I mean, Jay Stansfield, how much was he purchased for? 10-15 million,
if not more.
I mean, looking at FootMob, my go-to for all things stats, their back two that played on Friday are market value of 2.5 million each. Their goalkeeper is 1.1 million. They've got Alfie May up front, who wasn't too long ago where he was just scoring goals for fun. And so a lot of this team will probably fit in quite well into a championship team. And so we've done well to go to a stadium of like 27,000 people. And it's not the nicest of places. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but I should imagine it felt had the potential to feel quite hostile.
It was weird. I think in terms of the atmosphere, the Birmingham fans were just ready to watch them walk all over us, score a few goals, and then just have a party. Really, have a promotion party. But because I think as soon as they realised, this might not be our day, not everything's going to go our way, and we start going into the game, it was really flat. They didn't seem to know. It was completely the opposite of what they expected from us. I think they expected a team that had lost their last 3 games and going into the game with no confidence and absolutely no chance of getting anything from the game. And I think they expected to walk over, and I wonder if that fed into the Birmingham players as well, because we certainly gave them more of a fight than they would have been expecting. And yeah, after the initial sort of 15-20 minutes, it got quiet. It went flat. They say sometimes you've got to go to certain grounds and you've got to silence the crowd, and I think we did that, and we grew into the game, and it was probably the complete opposite of what Birmingham fans were expecting from the game in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, worth just mentioning our goalkeeper. What is that, like our 7th or 8th goalkeeper of the season?
I think it's 9 in all compositions, if we include Jasper Shake playing in the EFL Trophy at some point, or the whatever sponsor it's got now.
Well, he played in the FA Cup.
Of course, and the FA Cup as well.
got brought in.
So yeah, I think it's 9 keepers in all competitions, and it's probably going to be 10 by the end of the season, depending on what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt somebody will correct us.
Yeah,
Like John
please do
Barnett.
correct us. We're always open to feedback and corrections.
But as I was preparing for this podcast, looking at the Crawley Town news feed, you have all the news but a new beer. You then got Luke Hutchinson joins an emergency loan, Leighton Orient reaction, Birmingham City preview, Toby Stewart joins on an emergency loan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, having 2 emergency goalkeepers in the space of 7-8 days, it's quite impressive. I think people were originally quite disappointed that we did end up signing an emergency loan goalkeeper and not just playing Jasper. But I think now people are pleased that we didn't play Jasper just because of how well Toby played. I mean, he came from Portsmouth and is very highly sought after from Portsmouth fans. I know a lot of Portsmouth fans are starting to comment on the post about him joining Crawley, and even kind of after the game as well against Birmingham, posting how did he get on. So he's obviously highly thought of there. But hopefully we're able to keep him or someone of his ilk come the end of the season. Because, I mean, I said this was it Matthew Cox? Was he the Brentford goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Because I said in the podcast after the Mansfield game, saying that I didn't realise how much of a difference a good goalkeeper can make. And to not have Jojo, like, no offence to Jojo, it's just cost us a lot of points. And I don't think we'd be in the relegation zone if we had another goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think we've spoken, between you, me and Luke, we've spoken a lot about the goalkeeping situation over the last few months. And yeah, I think it's just one of those things. It has really hampered us. Just the fact that even with Jojo himself, he's not always been consistently available. So you've not had that. Normally you have a number 1 keeper who plays 46 games a season, all being well, and he's probably played maybe 30 games this season, which isn't ideal for your number 1 keeper. He's obviously had international call-ups. He's been unlucky with injuries. So I think that probably impacts on his performances as well, and it impacts on the defenders in front of him. But yeah, I think if we could go into these next 2 games and somehow keep Toby, that would be, I think, pretty positive, because it seems like Ryan Sanford is coming back to some sort of fitness. And I spoke about him last week, and someone who knows Ryan Sanford a bit, who knows more about his game than I do, on Twitter was saying, we were saying some time back last season, you don't realise you've actually got a really good goalkeeper there. But obviously he was behind Corey, he never really got the opportunity. So it's a shame for him that he's not been able to take advantage of the last few games of not having when we've not had Jojo available. And yeah, about Jasper as well, because it's a shame for him that for whatever reason he doesn't quite seem to have the trust. I know he's a young keeper, but it hasn't made sense at times not using him. I don't see what the difference between him and Luke Hutchinson would have been, for example. And I don't mean that as a slight in any sort of way, really, towards Luke. But
well, I suppose it's probably the equivalent of Bolton signing Jasper on the emergency loan goalkeeper.
It was a strange one, signing someone from the same division. Obviously, you sign someone from Portsmouth who are a division above, and you kind of feel like that makes a little bit more sense. And so, yeah, the goalkeeping situation's obviously just been a bit of a mess, and I think you can tell Scott's a bit tired of it as well when he was asked. He was asked post Exeter about the goalkeeping situation. He sort of just, you could tell he just didn't want to talk about it, because I think you expect to just have one goalkeeper that you call him for 46 games, but he's just not got that luxury.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting back in January when there were those rumours that Jojo was going to be sold and go somewhere else, which I think for a lot of us came as a bit of a surprise about those rumours. And so, yeah, it's interesting that he obviously isn't first choice, but he's just the only person that we've got, unfortunately. And the sceptic inside of me, and do not quote me on this, EFL, whether he is actually injured or how injured he actually is. I don't really know what the protocol is, and what they have to get signed off in order to say, oh, he's injured, so he can't play, so we need to bring in an emergency loan goalkeeper. For example, if he says he's damaged his toenail, is that okay to then bring in an emergency loan goalkeeper? Who knows?
Yeah, it's strange they've not really said what the injury is. He's just injured, but I mean, I'm going to take it at face value from the club, just because I feel like it's probably one of those things you wouldn't risk the potential points deduction that it would. I don't know what the punishment would be, but I assume there'd be some sort of points deduction for bending the rules in that way. But yeah, it is a strange one. We've not really. I mean, Scott's always very guarded about injuries anyway. Like we don't know what's happened to Josh Flint, for example, when he'll be back. Obviously, Armando's back now, which is good. That's great news for the final two games. We don't know what Louis Watson's injury is, although I've been told by someone who spoke to him that it's one of those where he could play through an injection, but they haven't wanted to risk it. And it's a foot injury. That's all I know. Apologies if that was meant to be confidential. And then who else are we missing? Toby Malarkey again. He hadn't long been back from injury. He'd only been back from his back problems a few weeks, and he's now out again. So it's a strange one. We don't tend to hear much about what the injuries are, who's available. Will Swan mysteriously not in the squad on Monday. Was he injured? Apparently he was. So yeah, all in all, just a little. We don't know what's happened with Harry Forster. Although he had been struggling with injury for the last few months, but he was kind of in the squad and then out of the squad again. So lots of injuries where we don't really have an idea what's happened or when they'll be back.
Yeah, you see on social media being like, why aren't you telling us about injuries? But I'm of the mindset of like, you should keep those close to your chest.
Yeah.
Like was it Jay Williams last season who was out? Oh, was it when he came back from international?
He got released from international duty, so he's available for the game. I want to say at Barrow, or perhaps it was an away game. It might have been Mansfield.
Yeah,
actually.
well, whoever it was.
Game we won. I think we ended up winning the game, so it wasn't Barrow.
It was all a bit of a surprise
anyway.
that he came back from international. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And that's my mindset. Like, don't be telling them when Josh Flint's going to be back.
No. It would be nice to know from the fans' perspective, but I do understand it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. But one player we did see for the final time, at least playing football this season for us, is Bradley Ibrahim. He's now got 15 yellow cards.
It's impressive. It's genuinely,
quite impressive.
I'm in awe of his ability to just, no matter what happens on the pitch, no matter how good a game he's having, he will get booked. I don't know how many appearances is he on. I don't know off the top of my head, but I reckon he must be on a yellow card every 2 games.
He made 33 matches. 33 matches.
Sounds close.
Started 24 of them. Minutes 2,182.
So he's getting booked. Was it 2,100? So he's getting booked basically pretty much every third half of football he plays. Every other game he's getting booked. It feels like it's based on those minutes. That is genuinely impressive. And he's not. I think I said this. When I was talking to Luke, when Luke and I were talking about it recently. He's not a dirty player. He's not someone you think, oh, he's gonna. He's not in the Jay Williams mould of he's gonna put in a reducer early doors or anything. He just seems to just attracts bookings. It's like it seems to be more of a temperament thing where he's arguing with players or arguing with the referee. And I've got to say, for a 19-year-old, he's got no real connection to the club, other than being on loan here this season. His passion and
he's 20 now.
Oh, he's 20. Oh,
still, that's like wow. Yeah. I didn't realize he was that young.
Yeah, but I think he deserves a lot of credit for. He's never shied away. He's always, even in games where the team hasn't been playing well, he's always been reliable. He's always been, he's never dropped a terrible performance as far as I can remember. He's always been someone who's been fairly consistent. And for someone in a really difficult season for the team overall, for someone that young to sort of lead by example with his performances, and also show the level of sort of passion and commitment that he's shown. You wouldn't think he's a lone player. He absolutely loves it. His reactions when we score, his celebrations. The way he's he engages with the fans at the end of the game. It's not something that you'd expect from a lone player. So I think, just we won't see him play for us again, at least not this season, and probably not next season, being realistic. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of give a little mention to Bradley, I guess, because he's been one of the few shining lights in a really long and difficult season.
Yeah, so I've just done some calculations. He gets a yellow card once every 145 minutes.
Oof, yeah, that's that's
But I think
literally less than one in every 2 games.
What's even more impressive is he hasn't had a red card,
That is another thing. He's
which is like insane.
it's remarkable. That's got to be some sort of record for the most bookings without a red card. If
100%.
anyone's got the time and the sort of the patience to go back through the records and look that up, please let us know, because that would be really, I'd be interested in knowing what the record actually is and if that is the record.
Yeah, but I did see he was at the game on Monday. I saw him when I was watching. Because I was does he train? What does he do?
Yeah, I was wondering that. I know he was on the pitch at the end because he was the one pushing Kamara towards the fans, I think, to do the fist pump. But and that's what I mean. It's good to see. He's a loanee who won't play for us again this season. He could easily just gone back to Germany and back to Berlin.
Nice weather.
And I'd rather be in Berlin than Crawley, to be fair. But no, fair play to him for sticking around and being professional in that sense.
Yeah, and I wonder kind of whether because I'm guessing referees probably do research into players and who they're going to come up against, and probably look at players like Bradley, be like, okay, he's got 12 yellow cards this season, played however many games. So actually, because he does act like that, the referees need to just stamp it out as soon as he tries anything, and that's why there's probably some tackles where, I don't know, if, say, Josh Flint was to make that same tackle, or Max Anderson was to make that same tackle, probably wouldn't be a yellow. But from a referee perspective, they're like, okay, let's stamp it out straight away, give him a yellow. So he now knows that he shouldn't ever do it again.
Which obviously hasn't worked.
No. Well, we've never had a red card, so in a way
it's genuinely impressive, because especially in the position he plays, where he is, playing at the base of midfield, he's making a lot of tackles, and he's involved in a lot of sort of one-on-one duels. It's quite impressive that he's actually not picked up a second yellow at any point, because there have been games where he's been playing for like probably 70, 80 minutes with a yellow at some point, and it's fair play to him. Yes, should we talk about the Exeter game?
Worth bearing in mind that stat is just from league football.
So could be even more.
I don't think
in the
he
cup.
has had a red card in anywhere else.
No, I don't. I think we've had possibly the only red card I can remember this season is Josh Flint against Shrewsbury. Back in that'd been October, one of Rob's first games. So that's the only one I can remember. I don't think we had a straight red card. Oh no, of course, Russian Hepburn Murphy against Cambridge.
Oh yeah,
that's the other one. Which I still think that was a bit soft for a straight red. I do think that was a bit soft. Yeah.
Should we move on to Exeter?
Shall we?
So, Exeter was a win. We won 3-1. We were 3-0 up. I put a tweet up being like, just remember what happened last time we played Exeter. Within a minute, we scored again. I was like, oh no.
There was a genuine feel in the terrace as well, of just like, we've gone 3-0 up and we just instantly let them back into the game. And there was a feeling of, surely not, this cannot happen again. But we saw the game out really well after that. They might have had 1 or 2 chances, and they did try and put some pressure on us in the second half. But we defended our box pretty well. And maybe there was a couple of sort of scary moments, but we saw the game out well. I would have liked us to have sort of had maybe a bit more control in the second half, just to kind of see it out a little bit more comfortably, rather than having to do as much defending as we were. But I can't complain too much in the position we're in. I can't complain too much about a 3-1 win. just really, really fortunate as well that other results went our way.
Yeah,
So
yeah, pretty good day.
the luck that we've not had all season, and where we've not taken advantage of results going our way recently. Um, so we're still very lucky to be within touching distance of safety, but where we've not taken advantage of those results recently, we actually did today. Oh, sorry, yesterday. So that is probably the most important thing. It was almost once we went 3-1 up or 3-0 up, it was almost a case of right, what's happening elsewhere. I was half focused on that more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thankfully Leighton Orient did us a favour,
Massive favour.
as did Birmingham. And I think hopefully the Birmingham result to beat Burton, hopefully it's knocked Burton's confidence a little bit, because Burton was starting to get on a bit of a run of form.
I wonder they've dropped points on Good Friday as well, and I just wonder if that the run of form that they were on, perhaps they've just run out of steam. I don't know. Perhaps I'm being a bit delusional, but I wonder if they.
But we'll touch on that in a little bit. But I mean, Hepburn Murphy, he has very quickly recovered from his potential goal that he could have scored against Birmingham. So it's good for his confidence, and probably could have got a hat trick in the game on Easter Monday. And also Panucci Kamara. I mean, I think we're finally getting to see like what people originally saw in him. I mean, when he went to Plymouth and that kind of form, because on his day he can be such a great player to watch. Love his energy, love everything about him. And I think everyone wants him to do well for the club. And so hopefully he's found this good run of form at the best possible time in the run up to some 2 huge games for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the second goal, Panucci's goal, it kind of epitomised kind of what I was saying about what he was doing in the Birmingham game. Just drove us up the pitch. Obviously, it was Hepburn Murphy had a lot to do with it as well. A lovely weighted pass, and then a brilliant finish as well. Like really nice finish into the top corner. Like it's not an easy thing to do. And there's when you're 1-on-1 the keeper, there's almost no need to go to top corner, but he did it brilliantly. Sort of the sort of composure and technique you don't necessarily associate with Panucci in front of goal, because he's had opportunities this season where he's not always been as clinical as that. But yeah, three really good goals. Over I mean, if I look at both of Hepburn Murphy's goals, felt there was a bit of a goalmouth scramble, particularly the first one. And I think the first one was that the one where there was a handball, so we should have had a penalty anyway. And then I think Rolls kind of comes away the ball, puts in a good cross. I feel like Conroy or someone Conroy has a header, blocks, and then there's Hepburn Murphy has a shot saved, and he sort of follows in the rebound as it goes, as the ball's sort of pushed out wide. It was all a bit of a mess, but a goal that we deserved. And then the third goal as well, really nice move. Jeremy Kelly goes for a goal, has his shot, blocks off the line, and then again Hepburn Murphy, right place, right time to stick it away. And at that point, you think if we're 3-0 up after 20 odd minutes, 22 minutes? It certainly felt very
24
minutes. There you go. It felt it was almost a bit too good to be true. And then obviously Exeter get themselves back into it immediately with just annoying goals conceded because it's a bit soft, just nothing cross into the box really, and then just flicked on into the top corner by their forward, and it was
ex-Crawley player Caleb Watts.
Is he actually? Do you know what? I don't recognise the name
because he only played I think one game for us. He came on at Carlisle, I think first game of the season, and got injured.
That'll be why I don't remember him. One of the least memorable players we've had.
I think for like the 45 minutes he played for us, he was a cracking player.
Really? Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
It honestly does not ring a bell. What season was that?
We played Carlisle first game of the season. Ashley Nadzam missed an absolute sitter of a penalty, like probably the worst penalty I've ever seen.
That rings a bell. This I feel like we played Carlisle on the first day of the season quite a lot. That seems to be a fixture that happens quite often at that time. But yeah.
He played for Crawley in the. Oh, I'm wrong actually. He joined in January 2022
That recently?
on loan from Southampton.
Blimey. I was thinking if it's a player from sort of like 2016, 2017, I kind of think, yeah, probably not going to remember him if he only made one appearance for us 8 years ago. But that is, that's. I'm surprised I don't remember him in that case. Annoying that we conceded in that fashion. Going back to the game, just obviously not great for the goal. I don't think goal difference will make a difference to us at this point because we're not going to.
No,
but it would have been nice to have a nice, comfortable, clean sheet. And if we had gone in at half time 3-0, perhaps the second half's a little bit more comfortable.
The only positive is we're now minus. There's only a 3-goal difference gap between us and Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, but if we win the next 2 games, we'll overturn that anyway. But obviously, the one we've actually got to look at now is Burton. Annoyingly, we've done a good job of reining in Bristol Rovers, sort of, and now Burton have kind of just taken advantage. And I think that's the frustration. Even if we just got a point against Peterborough or a point against Stevenage,
that's football.
Yeah, I mean. I feel like we literally say it every week, but there's so many games this season that we're going to look back on and think, oh, what if? So I'm not going to do that today.
But before we go on to that, one player I want to touch on is Gavan Houlihan, who I think people were a bit surprised to see on that starting 11. I think he's only started 1 or 2 games previous.
He started Burton away and got taken off at half-time, I believe, or quite early in the second half. He didn't play the full 90. I think he might actually, I'm doing a disservice. I think he played 60, 70 minutes that night and came off for Kamara, off the top of my head.
And he's not even been a player who's really come on much as a substitute either.
No, obviously, he's got his goal at Rotherham the other week as a sub. And it was. I was, with no disrespect to Gavin, I was pleasantly surprised by just how sharp he was for his players. Like you say, not played an awful lot of football.
313 minutes.
Yeah, so basically, that's barely any football. And he looked really sharp. He was winning his tackles. He was tidy in possession, and one thing he did really well, which I liked, and I noticed it watching the highlights back. He would when we had the ball, he would often actually drift left and let Jeremy Kelly come inside. So there's that kind of he was rotating with Kelly when we had the ball a little bit, which I think probably was quite hard. It's probably quite hard to deal with if you're a defender. You don't really know who you're meant to be picking up. But I think he started.
No, just told him the secrets. Thanks, Louie.
I mean, if you are a Northampton or Shrewsbury analyst and you're listening to me and Reuben as part of your preparation for the next couple of games, I think you're in deep trouble. But I think he merited his place in the team, Gavin. He really, a surprise that he started, but absolutely took his chance. And if he starts again against Northampton, you kind of think he's probably earned his space in the side for the next game or two. One other player that I wanted to shout out over the Easter weekend was Jack Rolls, someone who hasn't always been a fan's favourite, but his reinvention as a right wing back is quite remarkable to me because I thought he was really, really solid in both games, putting a really good shift. His work rate was top notch, and he held his width really well. He was always an outlet. He was always available for a pass out from midfield. Did his defensive duties pretty well. I thought, particularly against Birmingham, to play out of position at Birmingham with how we've spoken about how good they were or have been this season rather, and then again to do it 3 days later against Exeter in a must-win game and put in a pretty solid performance. He looks a lot more comfortable there, perhaps because I think it suits him. He can see more of the pitch than when you're in midfield. He can get into some really good attacking positions, and I think it was his cross for the first goal. So he's having an impact. He's having a positive impact since he's come back. Because he got that assist at Stevenage as well. So yeah, fair play to him. He's come on. It's a new position for him. He's playing out of position, but he's doing it to quite a reasonable level. And I think he's obviously been out on loan in the National League. Did really well there at Gateshead. So it's probably not where he expected to be finishing the season, playing right wing back for us. Especially when he went out on loan at the end of January. But yeah, really pleased for him that he's found a role in the team for the last few games of the season, and that he's actually proving he can cut it at League One or League Two level, whichever league we end up in next year. I think he's proved he's got a place in the squad. I think whether he will be here next season, probably will be, but we just don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of highlight that because I was really impressed with how he took to a completely new position.
Yeah. Reminds me almost of when Lewis Young got dumped into right back position, and it turned out that was his best position.
Yeah, he became our first choice right back for the next 2-3 years, or it was probably longer than that actually.
Yeah. I mean, but going back to Jack Morris, he's one of those players where I think I definitely want him to do well for Crawley because I know he loves it with Crawley.
Yeah.
Or at least from the expressions, like when he scored against Milton Keynes in the second semi-final, and I mean, I occasionally reply to him like when he posts stuff on Instagram, and he always replies back.
He's always come across as a really good lad. My dad's bumped into him in the supermarket once or twice, and he's always just really, really pleasant. He's like, from what I've heard, like just always has a quick chat. If my dad's not going to stand there for ages and talk to them while they're trying to do their shop, but he'll always have a quick word. He's always got time for the fans as well. So the fact that he's settling into a new role in the team, perhaps that's his future at the club. Perhaps he is. Yeah. We don't. And that often happens in football. Out of necessity and emergency, and in an injury crisis like we sort of had in the wide positions recently, he's kind of found himself to slot in really well. Yeah. That's the last point I wanted to make, really.
One thing I just didn't quite register on the match day, but we only made 2 substitutions.
Yeah, Armando came on.
We only brought on Doyle and Armando.
Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess there wasn't really much in the way of depth at the moment. It's becoming clear who Scott rates and who Scott would want to be here next season, and perhaps who he doesn't really see having a future at the club. There's players who haven't played a single minute, for one reason or another, whether they've been injured. But someone like Tola, who was out with an injury, but then he's been in the squad the last 2 or 3 games, hasn't seen the pitch. Be surprised if he's here next season, which is a shame because I think he's got something to offer. But I think Scott's clearly got probably a core of maybe 15 players that he trusts, it seems, and it feels like half of those are injured. So obviously, I'd be surprised if Tanamu's here next season. Whatever's going on there. Again,
he's been on the bench recently.
Been on the bench the last couple of games, but again, he won't see a minute the next couple of. If he does get on the pitch the next couple of games, we've been very unlucky with injuries. I think given how Scott seems
already relegated.
Well, that's the other possibility, but I didn't really want to consider that.
Moving on then.
Speaking of,
on Saturday we're against Northampton at the Broadfield Stadium, and no doubt, I should imagine we'd sell out. Do you think we'd sell out?
I think we'll get close. I think we'll get close to 5,000. Now that we've got going into the last 2 games, we've got a chance of staying up. I imagine it will be last home game of the season as well. I mean, the tricky one is whether there'll be anything riding on the Shrewsbury game, because we could be, depending on what Burton do in midweek. I know we'll come on to that in a little bit, but we're in a weird sort of limbo. We can win on Saturday, and even if Burton get a point, it's still there's a lot of permutations which we'll go into. But about the Northampton game, I think we just have to kind of approach it the same way that we approached the Exeter team. Just the Exeter game. Sorry, just take the game to them. They've got nothing to play for.
Yeah,
They're a
they
very unimpressive side going forward. I think their attacking numbers are probably relegation level. But they've got a fairly solid defence. If you look at their defence, they don't concede that many goals, and probably a mid-table level defence, which has kept them afloat this season.
they're currently 18th.
Yeah,
They won on Saturday. They beat Shrewsbury 4-1, and so hopefully now Northampton know that they're safe, because I think the win on against Shrewsbury for them made sure they were safe. Hopefully they'll now be on the beach.
yeah, they
Northampton
probably
beach,
one of the beachiest teams in the league. Yeah,
yeah, and we'll be relaxing and potentially try a few more younger players. We live in hope.
it's a
And
weird
yeah,
one
I mean,
where
it's a must win for us.
the pressures. You never quite know how that dynamic. Where the pressure's on us, we're the ones who need to get a result, get a win. So they've got no pressure on them. So it's always interesting how that dynamic plays out. Whether you know Northampton, are they just calm and relaxed and they actually play without any pressure and they play really well, or do they just go off the ball and they don't put subconsciously, kind of like what I think we saw with Birmingham, where I don't think Birmingham were quite at their best, understandably so. Is the same thing going to happen with Northampton, where mentally they're just not quite at 100%, and that gives us the edge? How does the pressure of needing a result play into our hands? What I will say is I think Scott manages pressure games really, really well. If you think about all the big pressure games that we've had over the last couple of years with him, you think obviously the playoffs managed that like perfectly. You think about Hartlepool away a couple of years ago, and sort of the run into that season as well, where we beat teams around us, teams like Rochdale and Harrogate. He manages those pressure games really well. So I wouldn't want anyone else in our dugout for this sort of game where you need, and going into Shrewsbury if we still got a chance of staying up on the final day. I wouldn't want anyone else just managing, because I think his man management in those situations is absolutely superb. I think we just got to take the game to the opposition in both games. I would not want any other fixtures though, and I've said it now. I've jinxed it, but if you look at our fixtures compared to teams around us, and if you look at just look at our fixtures in isolation anyway, you're playing a team in 18th who've got nothing to play for, and you're playing the worst team in the league who are already relegated, who don't have a permanent manager, you've just got, they're in absolute shambles. On paper, and football isn't played on paper, but on paper you couldn't really ask for two better fixtures. If you wanted 6 points to stay up, they're two of the fixtures you'd probably pick. You couldn't really get much better. Now I've said that, I probably jinxed it, and I can only apologise in advance.
All your fault.
Yeah, but I think Reuben, I don't know about you. I wouldn't necessarily make too many changes from Saturday, and I don't think Scott will.
No,
Maybe
I
bring
don't
Armando
think
back
so.
in if he's fit, because he's the sort of player you need that attacking quality.
But it's again like who for though? Like just
Yeah, it'll be harsh on Rolls.
2 or 3 goals, conceded 1.
Yeah.
The only potential changes would if say Flint's back.
Yeah,
But then
I mean, who knows? I've written down Flint, if he's back, has to start because he's just that good. But then again, that'd be harsh on Radcliffe, because Radcliffe's another one who I wanted to mention. Talking about, comes into the Birmingham game against a side of that quality and doesn't even put a foot wrong. He was exceptional. So it'd be really harsh on Radcliffe. Who, by the way, we didn't talk about his sliding tackle against Exeter. Reuben, you've done some refereeing in your time. What did you make of that, by the way? Sort of quickly, on a bit of a tangent.
I mean, from where we saw it, doesn't look like a card at all. But it's difficult because the referee is coming from the opposite direction. We're standing the other side of the player, and so potentially could have seen something that we just didn't see.
I didn't think it was booking. I thought it was one of the best tackles Ben Radcliffe will ever make. But having watched it, and I think I watched it last night. I tweeted something like my head's on Mars watching this. Like, how's it yellow? But watching it again earlier today, I think I know why he gave a yellow. I don't agree with it. I think he gave it probably for excessive force. Probably
Yeah,
because he does lunge in and he
he does
very much It's a very firm tackle, should we say? But I think it's one of those. No one complains if it's not a yellow. I don't think the Exeter players would have thought it was a yellow. To me, it was one of those. It's not a yellow card, but I think I understand sort of what law of the game he was using to give a yellow. Which is even more annoying, really, because it's kind of, it's like a technicality almost.
Then the Rovers player,
Eden Hill.
Rovers player, Exeter player, rolling around on the floor. I mean, that doesn't help. I think if he didn't react like that, then it's fine.
I think that was the frustration. The referee seemed to take a couple of seconds where the play had already sort of progressed and we just passed it into midfield. And he sort of saw the Exeter player rolling around. And I think he assumes he's missed something. I don't know. He took a couple of seconds. That's the frustration. But yeah, sorry.
We haven't even mentioned the potential red card of the goalkeeper, but we won't.
Oh yeah. Thankfully, that didn't cost us. But I think on another day, that could have been another thing that we're going on about as we've got no luck. But thankfully, that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Hopefully, it doesn't on goal difference or something, because that'd be awful. But yeah, sorry. Back to Northampton.
We know that we've got to. Well, I was just like. So we really need to win both our last remaining games.
Yeah.
We could get away with a win and a draw. But
very unlikely. I think there's a 1% chance where 4 points would be enough.
That would mean Burton and Bristol Rovers get no points whatsoever.
And that would also mean Cambridge would win, and I think that would Cambridge would beat Burton, wouldn't they? So that wouldn't be necessarily ideal. So
that's what we need. We basically need to win both games. If we lose on Saturday, it's all over. Although on paper it probably isn't, because we just need to score loads and loads and loads of goals. And that's probably going to be the difference between us 5 Crawley fans and the dog at Shrewsbury versus 600,
maybe 500-600. Yeah,
it's not that bad to get to.
I think we'll have a good idea next weekend. I just hope that we go into the final day with. If there's 2 points in it, I'll believe. Obviously, if there's 3 points in it, we're done for, because the goal difference. There has to be. I'm not looking at the table right now, but I think it'd have to be something like a 15-20 goal swing, something in that region.
Yeah,
which is obviously not going to happen. Unless,
14.
Yeah, there we go. So we're obviously not going to score 14 goals in 2 games, and Burton aren't going to concede. It's just not going to happen, is it? The world in which that happens, something mental has happened. Yeah,
100%. So in Bristol Rovers, then they're playing Reading at home. I think. So today, the day of recording, Reading have found out that they've now got till the 5th of May to sell up, which is promising for Reading fans. And so Reading will be fighting for the playoffs like you've never seen before. Their fans are really right behind them. And Bristol Rovers at the moment are just hilarious to watch. I watched one of their goals.
Is it that first? The goal against Stevenage, yeah.
That's the first goal that they scored. Well, it might not have been the first goal, one of the goals that they conceded.
I think it's the only goal in the game, possibly.
Bristol Rovers, they literally pumped it right up to the Stevenage player to then weave past the Bristol Rovers defence and slot the ball into the back of that. So I don't think Bristol Rovers are a concern.
I mean, you say that, but... Yeah, you never know.
I don't think they are. I don't think we should be worried about it.
I think that goal they conceded against Stevenage, though, that is a goal. If you concede that, you should get relegated. Just you deserve to get relegated. It's the sort of goal that we've conceded at times this season, it feels like. But you cannot complain about getting relegated if you're conceding those types of goals.
Yeah, and then Blackpool away. They've got Blackpool away for Bristol Rovers on the last game of the season. Blackpool don't really have anything to play for.
Which is a shame, because at one point it looked like they were making a playoff push, which would have helped us out a little bit going into this.
Yeah, but potentially, Rovers winning that might still be okay. Might, depending on goal difference. Because remember, what was it, Northampton were playing Bristol Rovers or something in last game of the season and needed a 7-goal turnaround.
Was that 21-22 season?
Yeah, something like that.
Around then.
And they managed to do it. So you live in hope.
The since disgraced Joey Barton was in charge of Bristol, and obviously they won 7-0 to somehow overtake Northampton goal difference.
And then I think Burton, the team we're most worried about, because they've got a game in hand as well. So
that is a killer.
They're at home this Saturday to Cambridge, and Cambridge will be fighting for their lives. That's my only hope here.
Yeah, and Cambridge are not necessarily a terrible team under Neil Harris, as we've seen. They are a functional team, which is more than can be said for.
And they're at home as well.
Yeah, it's. I think the fact that Burton are playing Wigan at home on the final day, a Wigan team who are not very impressive.
Not on the final day, final Tuesday.
Have I got the fixtures the wrong way?
So then Burton play on the Tuesday, Wigan at home.
Apologies. Yeah, sorry, I've got it the wrong way around.
Again, hopefully Ronan Darty's listening to this podcast. Hi, Ronan. Hopefully he can score a few goals, knock Burton's confidence.
Help us out a little bit. More importantly,
and if Burton haven't won either Cambridge or Wigan, it then goes down to the Charlton game, where Charlton at the moment they've won 4 of their last 5 during the other one. Charlton will be fighting for hopefully the automatic spot if it goes down that far. But if not, they'll still be wanting to get in the best position possible for the playoffs. So Charlton will be fighting, and it's at Charlton as well, which isn't necessarily the easiest of places to play at.
No,
particularly for the last game of the season. So, in summary, I think if we can get to the final day of the season, and there's 2 points in it, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, obviously, I think it gets to the point where it's so unpredictable because, I mean, football just has this habit. Would you be surprised if, for example, Charlton just need a win to get promoted, and then Burton need, say, a point to stay up, and Burton score a last-minute goal? It's the sort of thing that you can just imagine happening. But it's going to be a horrible if it does get to that point, and I hope it does, obviously, because I want us to stay up. But that final day is going to be absolute torture.
I think Saturday is going to be torture.
These 2
refreshing, and I feel like it's going to be one of those games where you'll hear.
Oh yeah.
When Cambridge score.
Yeah, I mean that was me in the terrace on Monday. I think when Bristol Rovers conceded, I sort of I was the first person to shout out, or at least in the little bit where I was standing. It's going to be a little bit like the final day last season, where we were all keeping track of the Barrow score, wasn't it?
It was Barrow, yeah.
And then because we kind of scored 2 first half goals, and we kind of knew we'd done our end of the
but it's
our end of the deal. Yeah,
I think if Barrow had scored, we wouldn't have got into the playoffs.
Yeah, it was quite. I feel like it was quite a late. No, it wasn't a late goal, but it was.
I think something happened late minutes, didn't it?
Yeah, I have a feeling there was a bit of a late twist at some point.
But yeah,
it's exhausting. It is exhausting. I don't know why we put ourselves through this. Really,
no, let's take up golf instead, or snooker.
Yes, snooker. Yeah, we've got the snooker World Championships. I think is this weekend, possibly.
Yeah,
somebody follows snooker more closely than me.
It's this week. Yeah.
At the Crucible, obviously. That might just be more relaxing. I
think it is. Well, Louis, thanks very much for joining me this podcast episode, and
absolute
hopefully
pleasure.
We'll see some of you at Northampton at the Crawley game not in Northampton. Crawley, the Northampton game in Crawley. Sorry, it's like 10 o'clock at night and I'm shattered. Do come and say hello to Louis, myself, Sam, or Luke. I'd be more than happy to say hello whilst we drink the Red Lager. What's it called?
Red Devils. Oh, you don't even know our own beer.
Red Devils.
Can tell we've not been offered a sponsorship deal yet.
I was close.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Louis. And
absolute pleasure. Come on, you Reds, and we will see you all on Saturday.